welcome back. And I've got three brains with me to talk about all sorts of things from the NHS, junior doctors and Valentine's Day. That's what we like on this programme, a wide diversity of subject. So David Banks, Mike North and Alex Laxton. Now you were just making the point about the lack of doctors.
Yes, I mean, to me, doctors should work the number of hours that other people work. I do feel worried about the idea of being treated perhaps with something very serious by a very tired doctor. I have the greatest respect for doctors. I think that the NHS, and I coined the expression before, but really is the jewel in the crown of this country. I think all the people who work in the NHS are terrific. Everybody that I've ever come across certainly is. And it's a managerial problem to me. Now, if you've got people in certain areas where they're all having to do far too many hours by any other industry standard, then there must be something wrong with the deal that they're offered in the first place. So I think there ought to be more doctors, there ought to be more training. I know it's a long term. It takes, 7 years, I believe, to become a doctor, if I think I'm right in saying that. So you've got 7 years to kind of recruit and train. So you don't put the matter right overnight, but I think it ought to be started so we had more doctors and then we wouldn't have them working these long hours.
You were saying before we started, there's a short, you can't get doctors always, or GPs.
No, GPs especially. You speak to a great number of GPs. All they want to do is retire. Get out of it.
Why is that there?
They're just dissatisfied with the general, I think, by the way it's been interpreted to me, the system that they have to operate under and the various rules and regulations and so forth. And this is where I say, this iceberg is much bigger than what you see. And someone has got to get to grips. It's got to change. Dalton said it's got to change, and it's true, Professor Dalton, and he's absolutely right. You've got to look at it differently. You've got to make certain that money is distributed to areas where it's needed. We talk about bed blocking, which is you go into a hospital and you want to come out of it. You want to be treated and then come out if you can and go back to your homes, and there probably be treated on a secondary basis or on a social care basis. Now, you must have a system that supports that. But as it stands at the moment, you've got to fund some money in primary care, so much money in secondary care, so much in social care with local authorities dealing with it, and in many instances, ne'er the twain shall meet. But now you start to see in Portsmouth and in Southampton, there's the Vanguard scheme in Southampton, which is a government-sponsored scheme. That's been adopted in Southampton. We're going to look and see how that develops. The blueprint for Portsmouth is that these providers sit around a table and hopefully the money comes into the centre and it's distributed where it's wanted. If you want more people to visit the lady or gentleman in their house who's come out of hospital to help them through their convalescence and repair, you need to invest money in that.
Yeah, you do.
And then you move the whole programme forward from the time you go and see your GP to if you have to refer to hospital, you go through the front door and hopefully come out the back door into a social care situation and through a secondary care if you're needing it in respective with dementia care and a multiplicity of other things. And it's the management of that. That's where it is. The people within it, the people I meet at floor to floor, the nurses and all the rest of it, and the people are superb. But it seems somewhere there's a hiatus in management.
I think the trouble with this country is we're dealing with the problem after the horse has bolted. We don't deal with preventative medicine enough.
No.
We tell people to have their 5 a day, but we don't actually look at what they're eating and the stuff in their food, and manufacturers won't change what's in the food because that means they'd lose money. But in other countries, they're much more into, they are about what we eat and why we eat it and the vitamins and minerals we take in.
Solent's proactive, especially with diabetes. The diabetes awareness is a major plank because Portsmouth has the highest diabetes rate in the country.
It's funny you should say that, because I must say, out of interest, I had a fasting blood test done to look at my, it's the pre-diabetes one, and I'm on the end of normal. So I know now I've got to be very good and not go any further. But that's because I wanted to know. Nobody would have forced it on me until I'd had it, you know. Do you think we actually do enough in this country? Is that about money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our GP does well-person clinics for all different age groups. So, I mean, our GP's practice is very, very good in that. But I just liken to me, it's very simple. Without good health, none of us have a life. So, I mean, I personally think that we should go the public health route rather than the private health route. You know, I think we should continue thinking in that line. But I just think that the nation as a whole ought to be, and that includes all the people, I don't just mean government, ought to be willing to fund it more. You know, whether that's 0.5% on income tax or something else, I don't know, because it's the most fundamental thing. Without air, after air and food, perhaps.
What are they funding?
Well, the whole thing needs to be that, for instance, as you just mentioned then, my GP surgery is very, very good on being proactive and bringing you in for screening, because I've just had the same blood test as you.
He probably gets paid for that, though.
Pardon?
Because they get paid for that. So,
but they all have their own budgets, and how they spend it is if there were greater budgets, because I don't believe as a managing director you throw money at everything, but I do think our NHS is underfunded. I really do, at all levels.
Yes, I take your point. To say it at all levels is a sweeping statement, because I work on the principle that if you've got a bucket with a lot of holes in it and water is money, you don't keep on pouring water in it. You start looking at a few of the holes and see where the problem is. And one of them in particular was highlighted just recently, is the people that utilise the NHS through an international basis. There's £500 million uncollected money that has been spent on people coming from abroad, from all over the world, to use our system and not pay for it in any shape or form. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't use our system, because it is the best system in the world, but if you use it, you should pay for it. And I draw the analogy, and the GPs have said right from the word go, they're not tax collectors, they're not there to work out whether someone's going to pay or not pay, but they're giving an excellent service. And I work it on the basis of an insurance policy. If you went along to your insurer and said, I want to make a claim because I've got so-and-so, first thing he's going to say to you, have you got a policy with us? And if you say no, well, he said, well, don't bother then, because the thing is that there are lots of pockets within the NHS in various places where money is not spent well. And let's look at those as well.
But we're supposed to all be in Europe, and yet the Germans think homeopathy's fine. Absolutely great. They use it a lot. So does our royal family, incidentally. Most of us, any old doctor who can shoot it, does. So it's a load of rubbish. It's just giving you the bit of what you've got doesn't work. It's nonsense. And yet millions of people across the world say it works.
That's right.
So why, you know what I mean? We're very closed in this country to ideas. Acupuncture, slightly more used for pain by the NHS, but again, how much is it going to cost, they say?
They're all talking about cannabis now.
Cannabis?
Yes, as being a medical aid.
Yeah, it is for
for various
pain or...
well, I'm not quite sure of the exact things it's targeted for, but there was a piece on the radio yesterday about it.
Yeah.
That somebody is looking at them.
But the law would have to change then.
Yes, of course.
And you'd have to say...
but it's moving those people out of that blinkered sort of way.
It
But with the bucket with holes, some of those holes aren't wastage. They're actually new technologies, aren't they? I mean, there has to be money to fund all the new cancer treatments.
That is not a waste of money,
no,
as you quite rightly say, because every trust is involved. I mean, Solent is very much linked with Southampton University and the research there, and as you quite rightly say or point out, that it is extremely important to the work of the trust and the NHS per se. No, that is not one of the draining holes. It's areas where there's duplication, triplication, quadruplication, perhaps in back office workings and things like that.
Is one of the problems though, and obviously you'll know this, and I ask it as a question, I really don't know the answer to this, and that is that with the development of new drugs, and we hear that treatments of them can cost thousands of pounds a week or month or anything like that. It's the fact that those new treatments are coming along and that they need to be given to people, and to be able to do that, there needs to be the funds to do it. So I just really do think that there's got to be better management, but also there's got to be better funding for the NHS.
I might get shot for saying this. Would you say that the NHS and most public sectors need to be run on a more commercially minded basis.
Well,
so to look, look, we've got 300,000 coming there. Well, we won't spend it on that. We'll spend it on this bit, this bit, and this bit. We don't need another whole new 20 computers this year because we only changed them last year. You know, just being a bit more
exactly. You're dead right.
commercially minded. Because I've known people. I've got a friend that works in primary care or doing the IT for primary care, and they'll change the computers every 2 years. They'll change the whole network infrastructure every 3. Well, that's not broken. I wouldn't change that in my business.
So
it's
you
not
think
broke.
it's a waste of money? Waste of money.
Why change it?
And it's valuable. That's one of the leaky holes in the truest sense, because you see, when you look at the NHS as a buyer, it's got tremendous power. And what is it doing? A ream of paper in a trust in the north and a ream of paper down here.
2 different prices.
2 different prices. And it's the same with medicine. I mean, what's the Marigold, Hotel Marigold? Did you see Margolis with her knees? She went into an Indian hospital. She could get there 10 times quicker.
Yep.
At a fraction of the cost.
That's right. So we're all off to India, are we? But the good news is, yes, our over 65s in the Solent area are living longer. But that goes for women last longer than men for reasons I don't know. You will work harder, do you? All right then. We'll come back and talk about why are they getting rid of lollipop ladies in Southampton? What nonsense can that be? Why are they closing magistrates? And why has the Isle of Wight hit a bumper number of first-time visitors? So some bad and good news. We'll be back in a minute.